Okay, hello everybody. This is Nephew SIG Automation meeting. We are one day from our presentation to the TSC for release. There's still a number of punch list items to do. But why don't I show the agenda? We'll take a look at it.
Yeah, while you're doing that, John, I pasted a link. When you share, if you could share that as well after the agenda, maybe. That's the one we discussed about yesterday, what we will present to TSC tomorrow in the slide.
Oh, excellent. I'll add it to the. That's our
I don't have access to that, Bella.
Okay.
You may want to just share with the public. It's probably not that. It's not a secret document.
No, no. Actually, it is actually a TSC owned a deck. The normal thing that Lucy uses. I just added a deck. Just added a slide there. I think only certain people have access. I think Lucy has to give explicit access, I guess. I cannot give access. If maybe John can.
I could access it, Bala.
Okay.
I don't think I can either. I think it's a oh yeah, it looks like I can. Add people.
I'm not on the right window. Gotta be on my Google account.
Thing is, we don't really have a good why don't we just, this is not really like, let's just, I don't know. Let's just talk about it.
Let's leave this for now.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this and then probably, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Bob.
Yeah, Jen, this is what I came up with it. I think we'll show the release notes and then which talks about the release overview, prerequisites, compatibility metrics, features, limitations, known issues, and workarounds. That's all in the release notes. And we need to enhance the release notes because there are certain question marks are there. For example, which version of vSphere we tested, which sphere of what version of OpenStack, things like that. We need to complete that. So basically, we will in the release notes we'll talk about the release overview and all the things that is limited here. And then we talk about, I put the, this is the source code, this is the Docker Hub artifacts, and the link to the user guide and the install guide. And then we will also show the code scans, which is a GoSec report, and then the scan code and the report for the license management. So I think these are the things I think is sufficient to show and get the blessing from TSC. What is your opinion, John and others?
Yeah, I think this is what they asked for. Yeah, that's in the next agenda item. Talk about the documentation. There's still a ton of work to do there, which I plan to do today. I started yesterday, but I don't know, what I wrote didn't turn out very good yet. But I'll keep working at that and just trying to do a little bit of cleanup and reorganization. But there's just a ton of work that's going to be, but I think I can get a lot done today, and anybody else. Well, anyway, that's a different topic. We'll cover that in the next section.
Yeah, that is that. And the other thing is all the links here is all pointing to obviously to the main branch.
Yes.
So before that, that's another thing. Before the TSC meeting tomorrow, do we need to tag it and then tag the release?
Well, we can tag it. We can take it as a release candidate, maybe. But I guess once we get approval, then we would tag it as 1.0. But we could, if we're ready, maybe we should tag a release.
Yeah,
candidate.
probably we should. This may be okay then. Probably just tagging, showing the main branch. This bit is once we get the blessing, we'll just tag it. Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
We could do that one, and then we're going to tag it as R1 maybe, and in addition to whatever is needed, because we can use multiple tags. So, sure. And then I think these guides, the comment is, yeah, there are a few things, few question marks. I think probably the user guide. I think John, I definitely seek yours and Wim's help. And then the release notes to please take a look, and probably we may need to, whatever the limitations are, the things, if at all we have missed something there.
Yeah, one thing I was changing a little bit, so I was putting in the docs repository, I've moved
Yeah.
the existing README to like a resources file, and then I took what you had in the release overview of the release notes and put it right there in the README.
Okay.
Maybe we put the release notes right there in the I don't know. I don't. That's too much probably. So I wanted to do like kind of a release overview and an introduction in there, just sort of like a here's what this whole thing's about, and then here's how you get started, and then then we'd have the links to all these different things from there. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about for that README. It's like a
Okay.
just high level overview.
Okay.
And- yeah.
That's fine too, John. Probably once we do that just before the meeting, probably we can adjust the links here
Sure.
in this deck, and then we can present this deck.
Perfect. Okay.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Then what do we think about from a SIG release? So that we should probably make a list of, and maybe this can be done tomorrow. I know it's late for you, or somebody else can do it. We need a list of, like, from a SIG release standpoint, what are the steps we need to take to actually do the release? So, for example, we need to tag the images, and then
Yes.
we need to go and adjust all of our packages that have a colon latest in them to use that tag. And then we need to retag we need to force push all those tags. I think that's going to be the easiest thing. Ultimately, we will need a better solution for doing this. But that's going to be the thing we can do, in the next, as
So
part of
I was going to talk to Rado, and that is Rado on the call. I just spoke to him before this over the chat. That's where I got all the links to the reports. So Rado is there. Hey, Rado. Thanks. Probably that's the one thing I want to discuss with Rado, whether should we just set a pro job for the release that will tag the source code, tag the images. I think the images one is already there, I guess.
That's already in place. Maybe I will put some screenshots of like how to create the release and how it will look like in Pro or something, and I will put it in the test infra wiki. So
Okay.
so it's easier. But generally, to create the images and tag them, all you have to do is just to go through the GitHub release process. So just create release from whatever point you want to do. So like from like top of main or a certain commit, whatever, just like a normal release process. And then if you name the tag with V and some numerical value, Pro will automatically build the images, upload them to Docker Hub, and tag them with this tag name that you've given. So that's
So
kind of automated.
the piece we need, the piece we need to do is that we have our different package repositories, free5gc packages, Nefio example packages, Nefio packages. I think it's maybe just those three, and those have tagged packages, and those tagged packages have specific version numbers, and there's code that relies on those version numbers.
Right.
So, but we want probably to go into those packages and find wherever we have a latest Docker image and change it to the tagged value. And
Right.
then for each of those that we touch, we want to move the existing tag to that new commit and force push that. That's what I've been doing in the development process, so that we don't have to continuously update the package version numbers. Then for the next release, right, we will in the next development cycle, we will advance those package version numbers, and we won't force push tags anymore because we have released something. And we need a better process for this longer term, but that's the one step I think that's a little more complicated that we need to do as part of release.
There is a version bumper up from the PRAO source code that's used basically to update the PRAO itself. So it kind of does this thing, and it can file a pull request against the repo. So you can just define, what versions you want to bump. I guess it can be made to also to bump the versions in the packages as you've described. I will have to look into it.
Yeah, that's for later, but just for
For next iteration of release process, right?
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Okay, great. Thank you,
Cool.
Bala.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Trello. I think all the release processes that you set up is immensely helpful. Thank you so much. Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, excellent. So then I think that we can consider us sort of ready for this. Other than filling in those, one tweak tomorrow before the call. So then let's look at the punch list here. I don't know if I captured everything yet. I was writing this just before the call, but I think I have most of the things. Why don't we just change this to, I'll do this, documentation. So there's a few areas still working on. We want to get status on those. And then, so let me look at, let these go here. Okay. All right, so this is what I see left to do. From a functionality point of view, the actual functionality, we know that we got it now. It goes all the way through specialization to get SMF, AMF, and the UPFs all up and running and talking to each other and able to actually communicate with one another, which is fantastic. We have UE ransom. The UE ransom static configuration doesn't quite work because IP addresses and things are different. So Wim has been working on changing it to use the specialization pipeline as well, so that the UE ransom reflects that. I did have a question about this. So, Wim, you want to say where that is?
Struggling with YAML formatting. So I think the last issue that is there, in my view, is to get it deployed. I do the specialization works, but the problem is that I believe, or my assessment right now, I'm just debugging it, is that so I have to annotate the network attachment definition. And there is this strange character that gets added based on the libraries, and that results in the fact that the pod gets created, but without the network attachment definition. And so that's
what's happening right now.
That's the current issue. I'm trying to see what my workaround is here. But okay, yeah. So that's the latest status.
So that's the fix that's the GNB NAD annotation issue. Then there was another thing I was looking at. There's a UE config map, and I don't know if Dennis is here, or somebody, or Piotr, somebody who understands the UE ransom. The assumption I'm making here is that this pod, the UE pod, is a simulated UE, and it's got some information about it identifying that UE, and so that we would want, in order to make a call, 2 different UEs to be simulated. And then I assume that the information in that config map, like all these 3 GPP parameters we've talked about in the past, like MCC, MNC, those need to, all these values.
Align.
need to,
Yeah, PRM and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, all that needs to align with whatever we've configured for.
Yeah. So AMF and SMF has configurations on those too. So they're hard coded right now.
Okay, so if we can look at what we hard coded in AMF and SMF and align the UE hard coding. We had talked about at one point having a 3GPP.
Yeah, we did.
I guess we
Yes,
never did it.
yeah.
Okay, that's fine. So we should hard code those values. And then I guess the SUPI looks like an identifier for the
SUPI.
subscriber. or
Soupy,
something.
yeah. Soupy.
SUPI,
And then-
But, yeah. But I think here you need, because we are using a common core, you would have to have two different UEs. I think UE RAN sim comes with, the 5G core is installed, basically provisioned with the default UE identifier. So I think you need two UE identifiers because,
Okay, and so
You
the
want to do
UE,
it.
that's the IMEI, is that what that is?
yeah, IMSI and SUPI and all that stuff. Yeah.
Okay, so if we can, even if we have to like hard code in, like base it on an array, right? We have like edge 01, edge 02, like if we can, based on whether we're on edge 01 or edge 02, use a different UE or something really basic like that, I think we could get it so that we get two different UEs. Then we need to document, well, okay, so that's, then how do we actually make a call?
The call
So
is
what
simply
happens-
a ping. Yeah. But
It's a ping to itself, I think, my understanding. So it goes via N6 and comes back to itself.
no.
It's
You
a ping
ping to the
itself, or
internet.
I thought you're ping some. Yeah, it's ping an internet IP address. Or
Yeah,
can
you
ping
have to
Google.
bind it to
Yeah.
the N6
Uh-huh.
that goes, that will NAT to the internet. So
Yeah, because our DNN is internet, so it goes through the 5G core to get to the internet.
Okay, so
And
we
the
don't care-
nothing is
so-
happening. The nothing is happening on the UPF deployment. Is that part of the UPF deployment?
So when you ping, so you force the packet through basically to use the, so when the
That happens
once
through
the
the UPF, right? The UPF does that, right? So,
yes,
so the
yes.
UPF
So
does that.
UE,
Yeah, UPF
So-
does the routing. So the tunnel
Yes.
sends it to UPF, and then
Who
UPF
does the nothing is my question.
who does the
The
who
not.
does?
Netting, yeah.
Oh,
the
natting
Oh.
happens at the, so UPF. So you'll see when the UPF is configured, there are a bunch of IP table rules that gets inserted in the UPF configuration.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that IP table is the
Okay.
one that,
Yeah.
So the
so-
UPF does that. The UPF does that.
yes,
So
yes,
we
yes.
have rules that send things over to the N6. So we do like static routing as
Yeah.
part of the spin up. Yeah.
So can I
And
ask?
what
a
do you
question?
ping?
A
What do you
stupid
ping?
question?
Anything Yahoo or Google or
Yeah, I think
anything.
Google or something. So we configure it. We configure them to default takes DNS from 8.8.8.8, I believe, so that they should be able to reach that DNS and then resolve it.
But how do
Hopefully.
we connect to the internet?
So IP
Yes,
tables, I think it's applied to that particular cluster node.
Yeah, but we are on a
Yeah.
Multus
So
network. Ravi.
UPF
We are on a
UPF needs
Multus
to
network.
have UPF needs to have
Yes.
UPF needs to have access to the external network.
Yes,
somehow.
and the critical thing is
I
that
don't think it's set up.
That
It's
N6
not set up
interface
like
should
that
get
at the moment.
no,
Yeah, the
The
N6
cri-
needs to be accessing the internet somehow.
yeah, and it should get an IP address from the actual physical interface that binds to the VM. So the subnet that is where people get stuck most of the time. So the N6 has to get the IP address of that ETH0 master interface, which is through which you NAT into. So
I don't think that's how it's set up at the moment because
yeah,
the
otherwise it will not work.
N6
yeah.
is Multus attached, right?
It is Multus, but you should pick the subnet that is binding to the worker nodes subnet. So normally all the other ones are just virtual overlays, but this has to come for something that is actually that when the worker node it binds to the physical port. So the worker node's IP has to be the one that the IP should come from that subnet.
It's not set up like that.
Yeah, then it will not go through. That is a critical thing. I mean, I got stuck there. Then I
Okay, so
realized
can I
that
ask a stupid question maybe, because I don't understand these things. There's I thought when we said make a call, we were talking about between two UEs. Are we, but it sounds like you're talking about UE.
No,
Yeah,
yeah. So
because our DNN is internet, so a
Yes,
call
yes,
means that
yeah.
we're going to fetch data from the internet.
I see.
That is
So UE have multiple services, right? It has internet service as well as your voice service. So here we are trying to do the internet service, just like our smartphones, right? So,
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's fine. But it sounds like it's not going to work even if we get all of this set up right, because we didn't understand that we needed N6 to be able to.
Well, we can ping an IP and then 6. We can ping a dummy IP.
Yeah,
right?
you can put like another dummy pod next to.
Okay,
yeah.
let's do that.
That we
Okay.
can do.
Okay.
I can send some link to that, Wim, to you, where they explain it. I think it should be in somewhere one of the forums there.
I mean, it's not difficult to do, but I mean, this was never discussed. At least I was not aware. But I mean, the whole thing is not set up like that at the moment. I mean, you have to do quite a bit of work to get this. to work.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. I think the principle is the same, right? We've set up a core and we can get traffic through the core.
Mhm.
So if we're doing that though, then we're just going from one, we're not going between two clusters. We're just going from one cluster to, like, we're
So
not.
that
The
depends
data
on
traffic-
which you.
The data traffic is only
depends
going
which-
through UPF, where the UPF cluster is. The communication between, say, SMF and UPF is cross-cluster.
Right, that's true. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
Unless you route from one URAN SIM to the other UPF, in which case you go through the cluster. You
Well,
go through the-
that's complicated topology. That'll be the IUPF and all the session anchor UPF stuff. So yeah, we're not doing that.
No, but you can. It depends on which UPF we select, right?
Isn't that one-to-one mapping? Your UE goes to one particular UPF because the N3.
No. Normally, because we have two UPFs, the SMF selects the UPF. Which UPF?
Okay. But yeah,
But,
SMF
okay,
selects one.
we'll see.
Yeah, in that case.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, so the selection
okay,
happens.
so
at
it
the
sounds like
domain.
then what we need to do, we actually don't need to do this, as I'm hearing. That's not important. We just need one UE. Right now, so here's the weird thing. What will happen right now, we do UE ransom across all edge clusters. Maybe we shouldn't, right? Because now we have two instances of UE ransom and two instances of the same UE running in those simulated environments. Maybe we just need, I don't know. You guys tell me, how do we need to organize this so that it makes it look more like real world? And
Do we even need two UPFs? Can we just go down to one UPF?
no, I don't want to, we're not going to change that right now.
Okay.
So what's your question, John? Sorry, I'm debugging this. Or trying to fix
So
it.
my question
I should
is-
not do that.
I understand. We today in our script, our EDE script, and our need-be will be driven based on what the EDE script does. We use a package variant set to deploy UE ransom to all the edge clusters. And since the UE ransom configuration contains a simulated UE, we're simulating the same UE across every edge cluster. So the question is, will that cause a problem? If so, we have two options. One is to simulate a different UE based on which cluster we land on, or if we're not doing a call between UEs, maybe we can deploy the UE ransom just to one cluster. Just pick one cluster instead of using a package variant set. Just deploy it manually to Edge 01.
Because the parameters are the same, so it will register in the AMF. I haven't looked at it, but no, I'm just theoretically. So it will register to the AMF, and the AMF will basically say, "I already have you, so I hope one will die and the other one will be okay." But you're right. I mean, there's no point. There's no point in deploying two. Basically, you're right on that. Because the parameters at the moment, from what I see in the config, they are all the same.
Right. Okay, so then we'll change the E to E to just deploy it to Edge 01 instead of using a package variant set. And we'll go from there.
But I remember Dennis saying you could insert UE configuration to the curl command. I mean, yeah, that could be later, but yeah, one should be okay, I guess.
Yeah, we
that's-
can even
I
do
don't
it
know
through
about-
specialization. I have now access to the whole thing, but okay, it's probably not something that we will do. But I don't know. I hope to get it, the basic thing to work. After we can basically manipulate the parameters because we do specialization right now. So we could basically say one is A and the odd one and the even one, or we take something. And yeah, but
Yeah. Okay. So, all right. So then I'm going to change this to say, this one is going to be update for Unity package, deploy only to Edge 01, add the subscriber. So we only need one. So the curl command here, Ravi, at least I don't know about you, Ransom, but certainly for FreeFileBC, there's a curl command that needs to be executed, Dennis said, to add it to the core. And then those, obviously those values of the subscriber ID and all that have to match up with whatever we have in UE Ransom. So, and then this already does this, it does a ping, right? Oh, but we need something running in our DNN to ping instead of google.com. Right? So,
Yeah.
And Wim, if we spin something up in that DNN and attach something to that network, can we reserve an IP for it so that we know what it is ahead of time in this script?
an IP in N6, you mean?
Yeah.
An
Yeah,
IP
no,
that
no
N6
problem.
IP that N6 can reach, basically.
Yes, not a problem. I can, because what we can do is ping the router, right? So I can basically statically assign. We can either do it via automation, or I can do it by default that I add an IP into the config. So you ping the router. So you basically go through the UPF to the route. So it's like almost to the internet. So in order to solve the internet, we have to connect the router towards that Ethernet
So
switch.
do we already know?
I can put a diff. Yeah.
Is the router IP address known? Is it like .254.1 or dot something, or is it allocated dynamically?
No, we will pick a static one. So we just have to say which one we pick, like
Okay.
1.1.1 or 8.8.8.8 or something, and we can.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. Okay.
We can pick whatever we want. We just
Okay.
have to pick
So
one.
if we can do that, then okay. So let's go through this list here and see if I've got everything. So functionality, the stuff you're working on, Wim, align the UE config map with AMF and SMF configs.
Is that done already? Or not yet? I hope
No,
it's
these are
done.
not. These are not done. I don't think so. What the MCC and MNC, so all those configs need to be aligned. I suppose are those appear in the GNB config too?
No, I don't think that needed. Yesterday I was talking to Pietri. So the UE routing part of SMF, there's no need. The GNB1 identifier is only relevant for SMF because it forces the routing. But I don't think that's needed for this particular case.
Okay, so
So what do we have? So we at the moment. So can someone look at the SUPI and the MCC and stuff? I did. Like
So
we
for
use
the
208.93 MCC MNC.
Let me take a look.
yeah, what are we using in AMF and SMF right now?
I think by default they are configured. You don't need to do. I mean, you don't. Generally, I've done using the web UI, not the curl. But by default, the core is configured to run one, and that's what the UE ransom uses.
So
Who did-
no, I mean that it matters because we put some hard-coded values on our SMF configurations and
Oh,
UPF
okay.
configurations. So we are, yeah, we have an SST of 1 and SD of 010203, MCC of 208, and MNC of 93.
Yeah, so MCC and MNC is 208.93.
208
And
and
as a
93.
SUPI shouldn't matter because that's the MC number of the device. So that's
Mhm.
from the UE only.
Mhm.
Then we have
The S
key
and SSA,
OP.
SST and SD,
For the slicing.
the slice, yeah.
What do you use? So SST and
SST is
SD. So
1,
0,
yeah, SD
0
is
x 1
01,
and 0,
yeah.
0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3.
That's right, 010203. That's the SD.
And then there is a default NSSI. So there is the internet. APN internet has slice 0x01 and SD 0x0203.
Yeah,
And
so we
then
only
we
save
have-
one, yeah, and then the ST, we do configure an SSAI, SST of 1 and 010203 with DNN of internet, so that should be fine. Yeah, if we use
Yes,
that
that's
SST,
what
and
we
SD,
have.
that should be fine.
That's what we have here.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so this is done. Yay. All right. All right. Okay. Stephen, and Dennis, what's happening with the operator capacity upgrade issue?
So I would, so the config map update never was updated in the code, so that never worked. The deployment updates was also not there. So my thinking is let's do the deployment update because that affects 008 and 009.
Okay.
So if the incoming, well, if we every time we update the deployment, so my assumption, which is verified, I think, in my old version of the operator, is that if at least for deployment, config map, I'm not sure. At least for deployment, if we reapply the deployment, we do a client.update on the deployment, but the deployment object itself has no change, the API server would do nothing. So that's great. So we want that behavior. And then
That's
if there's any, yeah,
correct.
and then if there's any changes on deployment, which in this case we change the CPU and memory, it should trigger all the pods to be reset and come back.
Yes.
So I have to verify that. If that works, then that should do it. So I'll do deployment. Config map, I'm not sure. Config map, what I'm not
Don't
sure.
worry about config map. I just want to be able
Yeah.
to show that the pods
Yeah,
change.
config map, I'm not sure if I apply a config map, if I do an update, client.update on the config map, do they actually scan the entire config map content and only update it if there's actually any fields are updated inside the config map? Because config map is the black box, right? for API server, for Kubernetes API server too. So
Okay.
but that one I'm not
So-
sure, but then let me try updating deployment and then test it on both cases where there's a change and no change. If that works, then I'll post a patch.
Okay, so that's for
That's for
UPF,
capacity change for AMF and UPF.
um, okay.
Did you
Look
say
at-
AMF and UPF?
No, for SMF and UPF.
SMF and
Yeah,
UPF.
we're not doing AMF. It's okay.
Okay.
We could. I mean, it's simple. It's a subscriber. So if you change the subscriber count, that changes the AMF. But it's not part of the test case. I can add
Yeah,
that.
let's not do that.
Yeah, let's not do
Today.
anything that we don't have. But once we have the UPF one working, can we update the SMF one too? Because that was
Yeah,
something-
I'll do that. I'll do both of them. It's
You'll do
pretty
both.
much the same one, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if SMF need to be changed and
Yes, it does. So same thing.
Yeah.
So because so Danny's test his for a very interesting case that actually is not, it doesn't cover this. So because you took basically Danny's code directly for the update case, so
Yep.
it's also missing that logic. So it doesn't
Okay.
it doesn't update the deployment.
if you need me to work on it, let me know. Or you can do it. I mean, either way.
By the way,
Yeah.
Anto, is your code, is that in already or still the code that you did?
I think we decided to wait on it because we don't need it
to
for
wait.
our-
Yeah,
Okay.
if DNS just internet, we don't really need it. I'm saying not. So let's not waste Ant's effort, but then for now, let's get this out of the way first. And
Yeah,
then we
we'll
can-
add
Yeah,
it after
sure, sure.
release.
Uh,
We'll merge it after release just for safety.
Yeah, I have no problem with waiting because, let's minimize delta at
you
this
may
point.
have to rebase and stuff, but then again, you
Yeah, that's fine.
that's okay. Okay.
That's
We
fine.
have
I mean,
literally 24 hours left on 15
yeah,
days.
let's not perturb the system too much.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so this one Wim is working on, this one Steven's working on.
Yes.
This is a nice to have, but they have it ready, and Chris is doing a review as we speak. So that's it. Is there any other functionality? Once we have that, the system should be able to support all of those end-to-end tests all the way through. I believe. Does anybody disagree or see something I'm missing? Okay.
No, I mean,
If
at
everything
least
works,
for me,
yeah.
that's a major achievement. Major
Yeah, no.
achievement if we get the call.
I mean, I
call
would. It would be nice to see the call happening. Yes.
Yes, absolutely. I want to see
Yeah,
that.
for me, that's
Yeah.
Yeah.
same.
I agree. I
so
think this
then-
is more, I think in a way it's more than we had originally planned. So it's a bonus. Yeah.
It's true. Like we originally said, the call was
A stretch. Yeah.
Yeah.
a stretch, right?
Mhm.
And we have them talking to each other, which is, so we've actually met our original goal. Okay, so
Yeah, we even do a bit of swim lane 3, by the way, in the meantime.
yeah, we do a little bit, right, for these configuration
Yes.
files.
Mhm.
Okay, so EDE test scripts. So then once that stuff's done, we need to tweak 007 to use the new package. And then we need to have it add the subscriber in the curl call. Like, 'cause right now that Free5GC won't, it would reject the EUE. And then we talked about this. We need to pick a static IP and configure that. Once we have that, then this should be able to go through successfully. 08.sh right now is going through all the way up to waiting for the pod to cycle, which the operator's not doing. So once Steven fixed this, theoretically, 08 should just work. However, we wanted to make a few little tweaks. Is Victor on the call? We had talked about there's some routines in there that if we move to the library, then we can use them again in 009.sh, or we can just copy the whole thing if we have to. But so 009 is exactly the same as 008, except that it does the SMF instead of the UPF. So
Yeah. Is that written? Oh,
no, 9's not written yet,
Okay.
but it should be quick because we just basically copy 8 and change
Okay.
the package. in
Who's doing
question.
Yeah, I had initially put it thinking that's just a UPF. So, but yeah, Victor also suggested changes. So I think his changes are there too. And I think you also made a lot of changes there, I guess.
Yeah, I made some just because I tested it in the live environment, so there were little tweaks, and then
Okay.
I ran the format code, which changed like every line. that's just
Yeah, no, it looks good actually. Yeah, I mean, it looks a lot more logical when I saw it yesterday.
okay. So I'm sorry, I need to see my participant list. Is Victor here?
Victor is not here. I just checked.
No.
He's not here. Yeah.
So all right. So I'm not sure if he's working on this or not. I'm happy to so my focus, I want to focus on documentation. So let's get to that section, and then we can talk about who might be able to work on some of these things. But documentation, so we need all those things we just said, right? We haven't documented how to do that in the exercises. We don't deploy UE ransom. We don't access the Free5GC web UI and add the subscriber. So I want to do that stuff. I guess that's that needs to be added. I want to move this from E2E provision README to the docs repository.
Yeah.
In a sort of exercises thing, and then just like we talked about earlier, kind of do a little bit of an overhaul around organization and Bali. So there's areas to fill in. I want to try and fill in some of those things, and then I'm going to try and add a little more narrative, paint the big picture a little bit. But I figure the documentation we can keep iterating quickly on over the next, even after the release. But
So
nonetheless,
one hour before TSC meeting tomorrow.
yeah, exactly. So, so I'm going to work on this. One thing I thought might be useful if somebody, and again, this doesn't have to happen today, but when we go through these exercises, right, we're sort of constructing the core and then exercising it. It would be nice to have like a picture. Like we have a picture now of here's what the management cluster looks like. That's sort of like where we get to after, right before we start the exercises, after the install. And then like we could say, okay, step one is deploy a regional, I think it's deploy a regional cluster, that's 1 or 2. Like, okay, now it looks like this. And then, oh, deploy the edge clusters. Now it looks like that, right? Like just to have like a little picture that grows over time through the steps. So if somebody's interested in doing that, that would be super awesome. I don't think we need to have it for tomorrow, but it would be, I think it would help people get a clear picture of what they're stepping through. So I'm going to say diagrams for each step showing what the VM looks like after the step. So anyway, so any, like I said, I'll take the lead on this. But if anybody wants to chip in, I'd love to have help. And then on these, what do we think? Is anybody available to work on these today?
So on the doc stuff, John, one thing is, and the user guide and the release notes, there are some question marks I put because
Yes.
it is not. So if you don't fill it, at least let's remove the question marks. That's
Okay.
yeah. For example, I didn't know about particular versions of vSphere we tested. I put question mark there. If you don't know the version, just have the vSphere there, and then probably things like that. I was just taking that as an example. So yeah, let's do that one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what I meant. The overall, like just to go through them all and kind of make them more presentable and make them flow a little bit better. I mean, there's a limit to what we can do in 24 hours, but we'll do the best we can, and we'll continue iterating beyond that.
Liam here, I'm kind of chipping away at this too, but it'd probably take longer than what the time we've left for to do to do a good job on this. But I don't think that's a problem. I think we probably have enough to. If we have to read me in there, I think we have enough. We have enough to go for the release, but we can do this after.
I think TSC, even TSC approved tomorrow doesn't mean that they would announce it to public that everyone will start down. It's not going to start downloading tomorrow.
Right, exactly. So we'll keep working on the documentation. And I agree, Liam, like I think we have enough material with a little bit more polishing.
I'm just walking through the kind of the package periods visualization and the work on the workload cluster now, and to get the detail of it, and we can abstract it back up and do kind of more conceptual diagrams for people, because I think the detailed information is there. It's actually the level above which gets people from the kind of the SIG-1 type architecture pictures to the real detail. That's what's kind of missing for me.
Yeah, that I totally agree. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, what's the narrative? How do these pieces fit together? Why? Like a lot of this is like if all I wanted to do was deploy a network function, I could already do that with a Helm chart. So why do I need all this stuff, right? And it's exactly. not, that's not what it's about, right? It's about the scale and the integration with the complexity of geography and organization in different parts of the organization. So like, I want to try and tell that story, but it's going to be, an iterative process to get there.
But I'm more talking about like where does Porch Big Sync fit in, what's happening with the repos, the packages, how are they being deployed. There's a bit of kind of magic happening if you don't understand what's happening, and it's just demystify that magic in documents. I think that's really what for me. But I think 2 or 3 weeks we can have a better job. By then, I think that'd be time enough, because people say, well, what's this nephew? They walk to the README and they will have you know, if they get through the README, then they say, well, now I want to understand a little bit better, and that's when we need these documents.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thanks, Liam. I think thanks for chipping in with the install thing. Also, really appreciate it. And Timo also has certain suggestions for documentation in the long run. Probably we can consider all those things once we get the blessings tomorrow, and then we can always improve.
Okay. Then okay. So the
So
ED,
on the dog thing, one more thing. Sorry, John.
yeah.
I can help you a bit, but there is a big non-overlapping time zone issue. We'll see what we can.
Understood. Yeah. I think probably like when you wake up, I will have something, and you can maybe at least review it, and if there's cleanup needed, like, you know, when you write something, you know it's in your head, but doesn't mean other people can understand what you wrote. So having a review of it, by you I meant me, by having a review of it, if you could take a look at it and review it, you know, while I'm sleeping, then that would be a big help.
I'll do that too. I'll just take a look at this one.
Awesome.
Wait, sleep? Come on.
Yeah, I'm hoping to tonight.
John, if
Yeah.
you need, I mean, I may need a little hand holding, but if you need someone to do the diagram growth thing, I can help out.
Okay, yeah, I think I'm probably not going to be able to do that today. So like that would be definitely something, if you want to give it a try, and we can talk about it, or we can that like we said, that can wait, right? That doesn't need to be there tomorrow. The one thing then we still have open here is the ED test script changes here. I'm happy to work on those myself too, but you know, if somebody else has time, it would be helpful. That's this section here, or if there's somebody I can tag team with on that would be great.
I can try.
Okay. All right, Anne, why don't you show up? Okay.
I'm invisible. Wow. Now I'm worried.
Well, what is it? Okay, well. All right. Awesome then. Anything else? I think let's get.
Yeah, I think the test one you wanted some volunteers for the 009.
Yes.
Yeah, anybody want to take that one? Yeah.
I think, yeah.
08, yes, 08 and online. And do we have any? I mean, I was not sure whether did we decide somebody wants to take it up?
Well, Vic, I thought Victor was working on this, but maybe we miscommunicated, and he's not here to know. But and if you want to look at, if you've got time right now, if you look at 008.sh, you'll see some functions in there, like for pulling out the CPU and stuff. I want to move those to there's a lib/k8.sh, and they might need some tweaks so that they can be reused. Like they might specify UPF directly or something. I don't know. They might need a few tweaks so that we can reuse them in 009. Or specifically, the tweak they need is right now, they just ignore the units. So like they get back a value of like 50 MI, right? And they just make that 50. But if they got 55 GI, then 5 would look like less than 50, even though it should be, right? So if you can adapt them to normalize the memory and CPU values. So like CPU is measured in either milli-CPUs or in, like if it's CPU 1, that means one full CPU or 1,000 milli-CPUs. But if it's CPU 250M, right now we would see 250M is more than one. So like that needs to be fixed, and then those need to be put into the K8s, libk8s.sh, and then we'll be able to reuse them in 09 as well. So that would be awesome if you could work on that.
Okay. I'm looking at E2E. Where are the 00
Under E2E, there's a tests directory, and you'll see 008.sh.
And I could help you with that because initial skeleton I worked on that 008.
Yes.
So yeah, sure. Yeah. But yeah, I think he kind of modified it to kind of handle both megabytes and gigabytes too. So using.
I had it stripped, yeah, but it just strips it out. It doesn't handle it appropriately.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Because when I try, because I was always doing it on my own free 5GC thing, not because I do not have this entire setup.
Right.
So, but yeah, and I could help you with that. I understand that because I did the initial one. So it's fine.
Fantastic.
What time do you have to do this? I mean, I'm free all day. Pacific time.
For me, you're asking me? But
Yeah.
just ping me. Yeah, just ping me on offline. No problem. I
Okay.
have some meeting. I have an ORAN meeting after this, but I should
Oh,
I
which
should be able
one?
to respond. The same working group 6.
Pop in and say hello.
Sure.
Okay. All right. I think we're done then. Let's get to it. Thank you, everybody. And let's yeah, Liam.
Just did anyone get a calendar invite to TSC tomorrow? Because in my calendar it's showing up.
I do. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah. Maybe the
TSC
TSC and Slack is very quiet.
It's the one. Actually, it's the one that we had 2 weeks ago. It's just, Lucy just updated the time.
Okay.
I don't have a meeting invite for tomorrow.
I don't either. What time even is it at? Is it at like now?
It's
10 a.m.
10 a.m. So yeah, like right now, 24 hours
Yeah.
from now.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So 6 p.m. local for me, but 10 a.m. for you. Okay, thanks, John. Yeah,
Yeah,
Can somebody
it's-
post that in SIG automation? The
Yeah.
Zoom? Thanks.
Yeah.
John just
It's an LFX thing, so you have to like log into LFX.
So you'll be like John if you use that link.
So
I
it's,
don't
Oh,
it's,
I
it's,
see.
True anymore.
Oh, it's
I
not
think-
true anymore.
I think they
Okay.
fixed that, but
Okay.
you know.
so it's the same link. It's kind of yeah. I mean, how many of us don't have it? I mean, is it the majority of us don't have it?
well, I get the regular TSC meetings, which isn't this. Not, like my calendar.
It's actually
It's out of sync at the moment.
Yeah, it's not.
It wasn't on last week.
Cool.
I don't know.
It's okay.
The calendar of
same
this
way-
project seems to be completely haywire.
So basically, just to understand, tomorrow we have a Scrum meeting at 9 a.m.
At 9. Right?
Pacific, and then at 10 a.m. we have a TSC.
Yep.
TSC are the same link, right, Stephen?
The same link. Let me compare. 9126. No, unfortunately, no.
Okay.
Theoretically,
Okay.
you should be able to log into the LFX system and join.
Yeah. Let's ping Lucy. Let's ping Lucy. I mean, this.
Yeah. And
Okay,
just
if you can post something up on the Slack during the during
Yeah, if you
the
could- also
during
if
the
you
day,
could,
that'd be great. Because I kind of have to go now to a
Okay.
soccer game
All
with
right.
the
Thank
kids.
you, everybody.
Okay.
All right.
Talk to you later. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Yeah.